What's up, everyone? This is Isaac from Hunger Smash Fitness. I am here with the one and only Bobby Thompson, a winner of the Mammoth Strength Challenge and competitor at World's Strongest Man. So first off, Bobby, maybe just talk a little bit about how you got into strongman.
I got into strongman kind of on a whim. Like, I think most of us athletes end up going into strongman on a whim. I don't think we ever intend on it going this direction. But my kid had just been born. I was working in the gym. Was kind of lost. I was personal trainer. Didn't really know what direction I was heading with in life. And then I was also dead broke. Not a good time to pick up strongman when you're dead broke, by the way.
Not a lot of money in strongman.
No. But anyways, two guys that would train at my gym. I was kind of the resident strong guy. Came in one day and they were saying, "Hey, we're doing this contest." I was like, "Okay." I was like, "Well, what is it?" So it was a strongman contest. And like everybody else, I'd seen it on TV. I'd watched it almost my entire life. Thought it was great. Never really knew how to access the sport.
Yeah.
And told me it was a small contest in Richmond. That day, I got online. I ordered a set of farmer's handles and then a log press. Which, funny enough, log press wasn't one of the events, but it was something I always saw. So, and then I was gifted a 300-pound keg.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So after that I prepped, and that contest was in Richmond. I want to say it was 5 years ago. It was really small. It was at a local CrossFit gym. The events were light, incredibly light. Event one was a press medley. It was a 275 axle clean and press and a 220-pound keg, just back and forth reps. I won that event, and then it was a farmer's run medley, or just a farmer's run, excuse me. It's like 300 pounds for 50 feet. I won that event with ease. Then there was a deadlift. It was a 18-inch Hummer tire deadlift style. It was basically just tires on the end of a deadlift bar, so there really wasn't much pull with it. But I won that event. I think I pulled like 800 pounds that day.
Nice.
Yeah, and then the next event was a tire flip. I think I took third on that. That was the first time I ever seen a tire that big. It was an 800-pound tire and an 8-mile lunge. That was horrific. And then the final event was a keg medley, which was just keg over bar. And I picked up a 300-pound concrete keg, which I'd been gifted, like I said, but I'd never picked up a keg that had lead shot in it, which is what all these kegs were filled with.
Yeah.
So I picked up the first keg and then took off and went to throw it over a yoke. And there was this little kid behind there fielding the kegs. And I stopped about 3 foot short of the yoke and launched this keg. And it was only about 250 pounds. And I threw it, and the lead shifted and sent it even harder and faster. And it almost killed this kid. Like, it was bad. I turned around and came back for my next keg, and he was not standing there anymore.
Yeah.
Nobody was fielding my kegs for me, which, yeah.
Yeah.
And then, after that, I was bit with the bug.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of, yeah. If you watch my interview with Travis, that's kind of how I started too. Like, the first contest I went to, it was just like, this is amazing. Like, everyone's nice, everyone's hanging out, everyone's eating between events and like having fun. Yeah, well, maybe just in your own words, if you want to give a recap of Mammoth, you took first place and had a pretty good showing there overall. Yeah, maybe just talk about some of the events, what your thought process was going into each of them.
The events, we can start off with all of them. I'll walk you through them. Event one was the press medley. It was a 350 log, 350 axle, a 300-pound Mauser block, and then a 400-pound Viking press.
Right.
So the log and the axle weren't issues for me. Initially, our weights were significantly higher. And yeah, so David cut them down for us. And then I didn't realize they were cut down a second time. So all my training numbers were drastically higher than what my event numbers were. So that was kind of a walkthrough for me. But the Mauser block kind of bit me in the tail a little bit because I don't have one to train with. And I really don't have that much shoulder mobility. So I couldn't get my hands under it. And I was there long enough. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna eat this one. So I took joint third on that event. The negative is they gave us an option which way we got to face for that press. So if we wanted to stand on one side of the implement or stand on the other side, So you had to
gotcha.
choose, do you want to be pressing on a downhill slant or an uphill slant? So we were not pressing on a flat base, which made things kind of rough.
Yeah.
Then we moved on to the deadlift medley, which was misloaded. Travis Ortmeyer pulled a lifetime PR actually because that was misloaded.
I saw that. The 891 or something like that instead of the 800.
I think it was like 870. It was just under 400 kilos. So it was just under 880, I believe. So we thought it was going to be 800, 900, and then the car plus 180 pounds of plates.
Right.
But when we started warming up, Anthony Parise, one of the judges, warned us. I don't know if you know Anthony or not, but he's one of the best. He's a weight class in an age. He's the age division higher and a weight class lower than me, but he and I have met a few times. He's one of the best deadlifters I know. So he's a 900 plus pound deadlifter. So when he tells me, "Hey, this axle's heavier," I'm like, "Okay, I'm getting kind of worried now." So the first bar was actually loaded at roughly just under 400 kilos. Which we didn't know till after. And when I sat back and pulled into that thing, it did not fly off the ground like 800 pounds is supposed to for me. So in the video, you see me shaking my head, walking away from it. And I was like, oh, crap. If that was 800 pounds today, then this is about to be a rough road. And then the axle was about, we believe, to be 50 or 60 pounds heavier than it should have been. You've got guys. If you
axle
have guys
already. Yeah, axle already sucks because it's a massive bar and it's hard to hang on to, even with straps and everything. It's a beast.
Exactly. Well, it's all dead weight. With the way a deadlift bar works is that you slowly are adjusted to the weight because the bar bends, right?
Right.
An axle, it's instantaneous dead weight. But when you have athletes that can deadlift almost 400 kilos from the ground, they should not be missing a 900-pound axle from 18 inches. It doesn't happen that way, especially with guys like Trey Mitchell. Yeah. Like Trey's one of the most underrated deadlifters in the States. He truly is. So I pulled the bar and I was like, okay, it moved, it was heavy. But when Trey missed it, that's when I knew that deadlift bar was heavy, that axle was heavy.
Yeah. I was really surprised to see that, especially after Trey showing in the Shaw Classic, where like with the Hummer deadlift and everything, I was like, oh, because I'd never considered him a deadlifter until I saw him in the Shaw Classic. I was like, oh, he's actually putting up decent weight. You know, he's competing with the big boys. And so I was shocked when he missed it at Mammoth.
Yes, that's an indicator. If Trey misses a deadlift, he's either not healthy or there's something going on with the deadlift.
Yeah.
So yeah, other than the weights being off, that was a strong event for me. That was actually what really kind of pulled me and set me up for the rest of the day. Because carry medleys aren't great for me usually, like the implement carries, and I knew that. So that worked well, and then we moved over to we had the farmer's frame medley. The farmer's handles were new; they had them made for that show, but they were painted and so slick you could see your face in the handles. So that's one of those things. It doesn't matter how much chalk you cake on your hands. It's just kind of like, well, this is going to go one way or it's going to go the other.
Yeah.
And not to mention the lanes were really chewed up. Travis Ortmeyer, Wesley Claiborne, and I were walking the lanes and looking down at the ground. We're like, well, this lane, we've got divots everywhere. And then this lane's got like a mound in it. So it's kind of like, well, do you want half your foot going in a small hole, or do you want to have to walk up a slight hill in the middle of the court? So we agreed the slight hill was safer. That event I also took first on. Travis probably would have beaten me had he not dropped the farmers. He had one drop.
Because you and Travis were the only ones to complete it, right?
Yep.
I think, yeah.
Yep. Which that's. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say with those farmers handles, do you have any tips on how to grab them? I mean, like, because you could try like a hook grip or something, pinching your thumb, but like, there's not really much that's gonna help with that.
There really isn't. What I do is how I actually tore my bicep on a frame. So I'm very careful about when I explain to people this, but I chalk up. Liquid chalk or powder chalk, doesn't really matter. Anything's going to give you extra texture. And I will rotate my wrist and actually curl my wrist under the handle and then I will pull up against it. And what that does is it pulls the skin tight in your hand. So it actually pulls up the skin and creates a little more traction. Now, if you have too much traction and you do that and you pick up the weight with your wrist curled, that's how you end up tearing a bicep.
Yeah,
So,
or your wrist either. Like,
your wrist is it's only gonna do so much. I mean, it's not gonna, your wrist isn't gonna stay hooked in that position until it breaks or anything. It's not gonna work that way. So usually if an injury is gonna come from that, it's gonna be a torn distal bicep tendon. So that's my preferred method. I just have a really good grip. I never used straps. My coach actually had to force me to use straps. Like when he and I started working together, he was kind of a distant friend for my first contest. And he asked me if I had straps, and I said, no, I don't need them. And he gave me his. He's like, you're going to need these. Try and use them today. And I tried them, and I actually put them on backwards. And I was trying to deadlift with them, and I'm like, this is stupid. Like, why am I using these things? This is making my grip worse. So I called him. I'm like, hey, I appreciate this, man, but you can take these back. Like, this thing. And then he explained to me how to use straps. And I was like, oh, okay, well, this does make a difference. But having not worn straps for years and years and years up to that point really gave me the grip that I had.
Yeah.
So I think grip's just one of those things that it's over time and it's constant use and it's not high training frequency.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. Grip is a weird one where I almost feel like you either have it or you will in 10 years.
Like yes, that's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Yeah. All these people that want to train grip overnight, I don't feel like it's going to go anywhere.
It doesn't. I've got one of my best friends, or one of my really good friends, Dave Lobby. He's a professional grip athlete, and he's a big man with really big hands. Bigger than we're talking like Mark Felix size hands.
Jeez.
And he and I have more than one occasion discussed grip, and he and I agree that I am a stronger person than he is, but he has more surface area to place on them. So that has a lot to do with it as well. Is how much of your skin can you put in contact with the implement you're trying to grip. And then the frame was fine. Frame felt good. Frame felt solid. I really liked that frame actually more than the one I have at home. We got to use strap. They said we could or couldn't use straps. That was up to us for the frame. However, they had the frame taped at the handle. I don't know if they thought they were doing us a favor, but athletic tape will actually rip your calluses off faster than really will. So Travis and I in particular looked at that and said no, because he and I were contemplating just between the two of us if we were going to try and take the frame barehanded without straps. And we both saw the athletic tape and we just said no, like we're going to put pride aside and let this be. And then the carry medley, they changed that 3 times on us, or they changed that twice on us. Initially, we were supposed to have a 350-pound natural stone, which they broke coming off the truck. So they dropped. Yeah. So then they dropped the natural stone weight and then upped the Atlas stone.
Okay.
Yeah, and then that, which was also kind of ridiculous. It was like a 360. It went from a 330 stone, which I'm bad with Atlas stones to begin with, but I was like, okay, 330 on a good day, yeah, I could pick that and run with it. But then they upped it to a 360, and it's a 360 stone in a dusty environment with only they were going to let us use spray tack if we wanted to, which was not going to suffice in that environment. So that was. I don't think they realized how big of a risk that put us at, because a lot of times with stones, it's the sliding that tears bicep. So I looked at the stone right away. The guys and I, we discussed it. We all agreed the Atlas stone was a bad call. So we had said we were going to run the implements in the order we wanted to, even if that meant, in my case, it meant running back an extra 50 feet to try and pick the Husafel.
Right.
So that was we all kind of agreed that Atlas stone was going to be kind of far-fetched.
Yeah.
So if you'll notice, the only person, it was Trey Mitchell, got to the Atlas stone. And so he got to the Atlas stone. He won that event, I believe. He got to the Atlas stone and then was looking around, and the crowd was yelling at him to go, go, go. And then I looked up and saw him, and Trey hadn't realized he won that event just by getting to the Atlas Dome. So like I ran out in front of him, put my hands up, and was screaming in his lane, "Stop, stop!" And then he looked at me, he's like, "Stop." I was like, "Yes, stop." And the whole crowd behind him is screaming, "Go!" And it's like, "No, quit, Trey. You're good. You won."
Don't risk it.
Don't. And that's exactly it. Like, we don't want to see, like, Travis got hurt. We don't want to see anybody get hurt. Not us.
Yeah.
Like, it's not.
I know. I felt bad for Travis because, like, it's just it's one of those things, though. You know, sometimes you just get hurt, and
what
not a lot you can do about
it. That is true. And Travis getting hurt was not funny. But do you know any of the athletic trainers that we had there?
No.
So the lead Strongman Corp athletic trainer, his name is John, right? He's fixed me multiple times. We're on a first name basis. I've got his phone number. I'm hitting him up on Facebook. "Hey, do I need to go to the hospital for this? You might want to think about it, but you'll probably be okay." Well, John was in a motorcycle accident and has had a series of surgeries on his leg. So he's got a cane, and he moves pretty slow.
Okay.
Travis pops his arm, right? I'm thinking torn bicep. And having been there, I was like, okay, we need to get ice compression, get ahead of the pain. He's still got to go home.
Yeah.
And he's walking around in circles, wider and wider circles, getting further and further away from John, while John's trying to limp over to him at a snail's pace. And I kind of look, I'm like, "Travis, stop!" And he looks at me, and he looks over and sees John, who's been trying to catch him for like the last 5 minutes. All right. He's like, I just needed to walk off my frustration. I'm like, I get that. That's fine. But the man with cane's trying to catch you, and you're kind of being a douche right now. Travis has no idea. So,
man,
Travis, I'm talking a whole lot. If you have questions as we go, please ask.
No, you're doing great. Actually, it's nice. It's nice when the person just wants to keep talking. So I love that.
Not easy.
Yeah, it makes my job way easier. Well, actually, I did want to ask you though, do you have a favorite event, like Strongman general? Just what's your favorite?
It's gonna be it's a three-way tie between farmers, anything log press, and then anything deadlift.
Okay.
Yeah, which is weird. Farmers is new. I've been known as a static competitor for a long time.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, but just for some reason now, farmers I've always had a strong grip, but for some reason now more than ever, farmers is really starting to click with me.
Huh, so. Interesting. Do you have a particular style of farmers that you prefer? Or because, there's some that have the long handles running all the way along the top where it's, it's the tube or some of them, the weight sits differently.
I like heavy farmers.
Just anything heavy.
Just give me the heavy farmers. I think the reason I'm good at the heavier farmers runs is the same reason I'm good with heavier yoke runs, and that's I'm too stupid to quit. I'm really good at dying last. So,
well, good. That's a good skill to have.
Yeah, exactly. It's survival.
Awesome.
But, so, and I think that brings us to truck pull, doesn't it?
Yeah, and then the truck pull there.
Wow, this was a fun one. So end of the day, we've been competing for near 12 hours. We got there at 9 o'clock. We were supposed to start at 12. We ended up starting at 3. It's rough. So we get there at the end of the day. I already knew a 34,000-pound truck pull was a highly questionable event. Truck pull arm over arm, I should say. Being strapped to it probably wouldn't have been much of an issue. But an arm over arm, I'm like, that's kind of rough. So we were all looking at it. I went and inspected where the rope was. The guys were kind of concerned of how the rope was attached to the truck. So I walked it, went and pulled on it. That rope was fine. It wasn't going anywhere. My concern with the rope is that it was nearly 4 or 5 inches around, which that's kind of ridiculous. And the texture on it was so that gloves would have been more of a hindrance. So it's kind of like, well, crap. So we're going to go at this thing barehanded.
It's a good way to tear a bicep too.
Yeah, exactly. At that point in time, well, so with an arm over arm pull, if you have a slick floor to sit on, you're good. But the flooring that they had down for us was stall mat. So it wasn't slick. If the floor is slick, then you can pull yourself back to it and leg press off of it.
Oh, gotcha.
So, and that's usually the way you want to go about an arm over arm pull for a truck, is you want to use as little arm as humanly possible. Your hands are more or less just hooks. Get them locked in. Try not to pull too much with them.
Use your back, use your hips.
Yeah, back, legs, short strokes, just keeps the truck moving. But with the rope that thick and then the stall mat, it's not very slick. And we all were kind of looking at it like, okay, how can we make this work? We can't. I didn't like the event partially because the floor was at a slight uphill grade. Yeah. And I noticed that they didn't have wheel chocks on the truck, which meant that when they came off the air brakes, if they did it properly, you're immediately fighting backwards inertia, which means you don't only have to redirect that truck, you have to temporarily pull hard enough to stop it from going backwards, then power and move it forwards, which is very difficult to do. So Stan Carding was the first guy to go. Stan sat down. He got locked in. Stan, who's a World's Strongest Man competitor, he's been in the game for a while. Yeah. He's a strong dude. He's a strong dude. And Stan dialed in, got amped up. He was ready. He had a really good start position. I heard the judge, athlete ready, go, pull, gave him the indicator. Stan started pulling, and the rope stretched. The truck didn't move. And then you heard the air brakes starting to release, which immediately tells me the driver, there was no communication between the judge and the driver of what signal meant what. And the driver maybe didn't realize that he had to give us a couple second head start so the truck would actually move.
Yeah.
So I was immediately rather irritated with that, more for the safety of the athletes. Stan popped up. He was pissed. He calmed down. I looked at the guys. I ran through the day, explained to them what we had. And I was like, look, this isn't safe. We have not been put in a position for success. And Trey Mitchell was the closest one to me. But at that point, it was so neck and neck. Anybody could have won that. And I looked around. I told him, look, I'll come off of this much money out of my pocket for the prize money. I know it's not the win I want. It's not the way you guys want to come in the places you're in. But this is not the contest I'm willing to intentionally injure myself for a win. Yeah. And Stan kind of was amped up in the moment, and he's a true competitor. He is. It was about pride at that point. Like, he pulled the truck, didn't move. I'm gonna beat the truck. So he set himself up. This time they did things somewhat correctly. Stan pulled, truck didn't move. He started cramping up. I turned and looked at the guys, and I was like, look, we basically just called a meeting. I was like, we really need to assess this. Everybody kind of agreed, and then I lifted on Trey Mitchell to make the final decision because he was the man in second place. Yeah. And I was like, you're the one who's going to kind of have the question more so than any of us. And I told Trey, I was like, look, or any of them, Wesley Claiborne, Marcus, I was like, if you guys want to fight this out, I'll fight it to the end with you. Let's go. But you need to think about what may be about to happen to one of us, or if not all of us. Yeah. And then we all agreed that we weren't going to do it. It wasn't safe. It wasn't a well thought out event. I turned around, put my hand up, and said, we're done. And we all walked off together. Yeah, it was. Yeah. Yeah,
when I was watching the live stream, I mean, like I said, like, I was super stoked to see the truck pull. It's always been a fascinating one for me. It's not one that I'm very good at, but like, it's a ton of fun. And so I was stoked seeing them get all set up and everything. And the next thing I know, they're taking everything apart and getting the truck off the field. And I was like, well, all right.
We were not happy that we did what we did. Trust me. Like, that was, we understand. And this is kind of it. So at Worlds, when the hurricane and everything was coming along this year, Brian Shaw actually, and everything I did at that show was because of what I witnessed and experienced with Brian Shaw at Worlds. Yeah. We had a WhatsApp group message going on, and he actually jumped on and said, mandatory meeting, all athletes only at this time in this place. And we walked into where he had said it was going to be, and nobody else was allowed to be there. A couple camera guys showed up. Brian looked at them and pointed at the door, said, get out. This is for you. And it was literally Brian. It wasn't a coup. It wasn't like some kind of power play by the athletes. He literally just sat us down and said, we need to know what we are willing to do in this situation, what's going to work for us. And more importantly, if they ask us to do something that's not going to work, what are we going to have as a contingency plan to present to them? So, and that was, I was just through that whole time. And I even told Trey during the meeting, I was like, this is exactly what Brian did, what we're doing right now. And it needs to be a habit, because promoters are there to run a show. They care about us, but they're there to run a show.
Yeah.
And especially if the promoter has never been an athlete at the level we're at, a lot of times they don't realize what we actually need and how we actually need it to be safe.
Yeah. Well, and in my research or whatever, a lot of promoters haven't really been athletes anyways. They're fans of the sport, and some of them are very well versed and they're very knowledgeable about the sport, but they've never actually been the one trying to pull the truck or trying to, you know, do the deadlift or whatever else. So yeah, and I mean, and at the end of the day, they're you know, they're trying to make a buck. They're trying to like a lot of them aren't really they don't necessarily have the athletes first in mind, I guess.
And I don't even want to go that far. I do believe actually, yes, I agree with you in the sense that on game day, they're thinking about all the moving parts in a contest running smoothly, not the in the moment care of the athlete. But that's because that's not their job, I don't think.
Right.
I don't think that's their job or position, and quite frankly, I don't think they have the time to. But I think that's why it's so important for the athletes at the pro level to step up and say no, or simply, hey, we need to do this instead.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of time it's going to be the athletes are going to have to do it all together and at one time to make the promoter listen. Because if one athlete scratches and say, I'm not going to do that, well, that's not really okay. That athlete scratched.
Yeah.
But people start paying attention. Exactly. Yeah. But people pay attention when the athletes start moving together. So
yeah,
I really hope that story kind of gets out about what happened at Mammoth, because it's really important.
That's good. Yeah, I like that. Well, maybe we could get into your eating and stuff. I noticed that you've had a little bit of a body recomposition since Arnold's. What are you doing to achieve that?
Oh, okay. So the Arnold, that was actually, so I actually was coming into the Arnold at 375. And that was the goal. But before COVID had a name, my coach and I believe that is what I caught, because I lost 20 pounds in 2 weeks.
Dang.
I got very sick in that training cycle, and I could not put weight back on to save my life. I could not.
When was that? When did you get sick?
I got sick about 8 or 9 weeks out of the Arnold.
So like end of December timeframe?
Yep.
I had something at that exact same time, lost about 20 pounds, could not stop throwing up and all that sort of stuff for about 5 days or whatever. Ended up in the ER, got a couple IVs and everything, and then suddenly stopped. And got tested for antibodies later and didn't come up positive for that. But I had something
something definitely new.
It's something new.
Yeah. So that super bloat I had at the Arnold was I couldn't eat. Like, my appetite wasn't there. My stomach still really hasn't ever been right after that. Like, I still have issues eating. But it was, so that super bloat was liquid. Like, I realized I was like, okay, I can get the liquid in. I can keep it down. I can drink these calories. And I was putting everything in my body I could that would stay down. So as far as my eating didn't really change too much. It was just kind of an in the moment thing.
Okay.
Yeah, but as far as what I eat, I'm pretty basic. Like, I do cheat, like especially on Saturdays when I have a training session in the middle of the day, which isn't very often, but when I do, it cuts out a lot of my meals. So usually, like on a Saturday evening, I'll end up with like 2 large pizzas from Domino's, which is what I did before we got on this. Just kind of like making calories. It feels good. But throughout the week, I have a shake in the morning, which is 8 raw eggs, 3 cups of oatmeal, half a cup of almond milk, and there's one more, and then 2.5 cups of Greek yogurt. So that'll be my breakfast. And then usually I'll be at work. About 3 hours later, I'll have my first meal, which is 1.5 to 2 cups of rice and roughly 8 to 10 ounces, sometimes 12 of red meat, depending on how my body's feeling. If I feel like I need some extra push. My next meal after that will be the same thing. My pre-training meal, depending on what event I have, will either be 2 bananas and a protein shake. If it's going to be a kind of a heavy night and it's going to drag, I'll usually go like a honey bun and a banana. Just something more calorie dense.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah, and then for dinner, it'll usually be the same thing as my first 2 meals, or it will be like a turkey kielbasa and rice and vegetables.
Okay.
Like just something to break it up, something easy. And then throughout the day, I'm usually consuming, I would say 24 to 32 ounces of cranberry juice.
Okay. Why cranberry juice?
So cranberry juice, it's anti-cancerous. It's good for your kidneys. It's good for your liver. It's good for your teeth. It's good for your stomach. And it's also got, I want to say, 38 grams of carbohydrates per 8 ounces.
Right.
So yeah, it's for somebody like me. Again, I have issues. I don't have to eat as much as a lot of the guys do. I don't.
Yeah.
I'm genetically gifted that way. But there are some days where I just need the good food and the good calories and the good carbs, and that's where cranberry juice, I can kind of make it up a little bit. Say in the event I can't get all my rice down because just some days it's going to come back up. I know I can kind of re-cleanse my palate with 8 ounces of cranberry juice, just suck it down real quick. It's making up for the carbs I'm missing, and it's also resetting my palate. It's got all the micronutrients.
Interesting. Yeah, that's a fun breakdown, actually. That's a pretty good description. Have you, did you get any of that from Stan Efferding, or?
No, I was doing that was stuff. Well, so the cranberry juice, I always saw Eddie Hall drinking it.
Yeah.
And then I just started doing my own research. Started like, what is behind this? There has to be a reason. And I read everything. I'm like, oh, okay, well, X, Y, and Z. This is good. This is nice. And then as I dove deeper and deeper into it, it was like, okay, well, I can drink this. It tastes significantly different than anything else I'm consuming. So a lot of times, you have what's called palate satiation.
Yeah.
Which competitive eaters have different mixtures of foods they'll put together to avoid that.
That's just what I was thinking about. Yeah.
Exactly. And it works. It saves you.
Huh. Interesting. That's pretty cool, actually. I've tried putting more cranberry juice into my diet. I still don't do it regularly though.
Well, so are you drinking cranberry juice or like from cocktail stuff?
No, like regular cranberry juice. Usually I try and get like the unsweetened juice stuff, not the sugary whatever. Yeah.
Can't do the from cocktail stuff. I can't do it. It hurts.
Yeah. But well, yeah, so I saw your Instagram video too about overhead pressing. Are you gonna shoot for the American record in is that April?
So yeah, that's end of April, beginning of May.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's something I've been wanting to do. My coach and I have been discussing it for quite a while now, but he was always of the opinion, he's like, we're not going to do that in the gym. But he's like, no. He's like, when you hit the American record, he's like, you will hit it at a contest, either a record breaker event or you will hit it in a contest, because doing it in the gym, the next thing a person's going to do is ask you to do it in a contest.
Yeah.
And he's like, you've only got so many maximum efforts when it comes to stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that's something I'm in mid prep for that, and then another contest right now.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm confident I can already press the American record. My issue is usually the clean. So I'm having to,
because the American record is 218 kilos, something like that.
I think so. I think it's like 473 or 475.
Yeah.
I'm running all my training percentages off of 482. I think that will because there's not really any of us, the guys he's got going to this thing right now, we're all neck and neck, and I don't see any of us hitting more than a 485 or 482. I just don't see. I think there's some guys that can clean more than that, but I don't see any of us pressing more than that right now.
Don't tell Oberst that. He might get offended.
Yeah, well, I outscored Robert Oberst at World's Strongest Man, so I was prepared to hit that log for 12 reps in a minute if I had to. Which so
he's a hoot. I love watching him for the entertainment value, but that's kind of about it.
Man, I can honestly say, like, I've talked to him, I like him. He is incredibly business smart. If we learn anything from that man, it is business. But I also can say that I don't think he's ever had his day at contest. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't think I just, having spoken to him, communicated with him, we talked a little bit about training, nothing really in depth at Worlds, but I can tell he has not had his contest day just yet. Yeah. And when it does happen, that's going to be a scary day.
I mean, he's strong. He's a solid dude. He's got good lifts and everything. But yeah, you're right. Like it's the numbers. I don't know. Why do you think that is though? I mean, like, you just think that, is it the events, or do you think it's just his prep, or?
I really don't know. I don't. He's mentally pretty tough, I believe. I just haven't spoken to him. I don't think it's a mental thing. I just think for some reason he hasn't had that contest where everything clicks. I do believe that he is primarily focused on his businesses that he's got going and continuing to make money for him, his family, his kid. Versus guys like Brian Shaw, who can stay totally focused on training.
Yeah, and I think with Oberst too, I mean, given his upbringing, his childhood and everything, I think that is more of a focus for his family, basically. So that probably plays a large factor into it. But yeah, he's entertaining to watch. There's a couple guys that, like, I would like, well, you mentioned Mark Felix too. I would love it if he could win World's Strongest Man sometime. It's never gonna happen. I mean, you look at Matthias and all these other new guys that are coming in, and it's like, there's no way he could ever win. But I love the guy. He's super fun to watch, and like,
he's a sleeper. So he and I competed against each other at the North American Giants Live event last year, which was I was in second place all day, and it was Evan Singleton and I just neck and neck, which Evan's one of my best friends. Yeah, so we were loving it. We were feeding off it. Like, it was great. We're smiling at each other like we're about to go to Worlds for the first time together. I was like, this is gonna be some shit, man. This is gonna be great. Then I couldn't load the last stone on the Atlas Stone series, and Marcus Felix knocked me off the platform by half a point. Half a point. I got beaten out by a man almost as old as my dad by half a point.
Yeah.
And that was his age had nothing to do with it. Losing by half a point was the worst part. But that was rough. So he cannot overhead press, but he can do everything else. And he's smart.
Yeah.
He's smart.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. He's smart. So it's you say he's not going to win Worlds. You're right, but all the young guys watching, don't sleep on him. He'll embarrass you. He'll embarrass you.
Yeah. JF Caron is another one that, like, just when he first started, I was like, there's no way he'd ever win. But every year he comes back and he keeps placing higher and he keeps placing higher. And it's like, maybe in another 2 or 3 years, he might actually finish first. Like, because he was third this year, right?
I want to say, he placed third.
Yeah.
I want to say third or third.
Yeah, because he was like 8th and then 6th and then 5th and then 4th and it just seems like every year he keeps.
Oh, he took 5th like 3 or 4 years in a row.
Yeah.
Yeah, he took 5th like 3. Yeah, so and then it was not this past year, but the year prior, he took fourth. Again, we were at Worlds, and Colin walked up and said, "So, fifth place again this year, right?" And JF stood up and looked at him and said, "I took fourth last year," and just walked away. I was like, "Oh." And JF's a cool dude. Cool dude,
Yeah.
man. He really is.
He's fun.
He doesn't have a hole in his game. Like it's no mystery. I suck at Atlas stones. I'm not good at them. It's no mystery. But JF, there's nothing he's bad at.
Yeah. Okay. I was gonna say there's nothing he's like the best at. Deadlift. He's probably one of the best.
Yes.
At deadlift. Otherwise, like, he's not really the best at anything, but he's definitely not the worst. And kind of the same with Brian Shaw, though, too. Like, Brian's not necessarily the best at any of these events, but he consistently finishes second or third or whatever in almost everything. And then before you know it, he's in first place.
They're athletes. They're smart. They're playing the points games. It's JF knows when to turn it on for an event, but if he doesn't have to, he's not going to. And that's the way most of those Canadians are. I was lucky enough to compete at the Canadian Arnold Classic or the Arnold Classic Canada. And I remember talking to those guys, the Americans and all the Canadians were in a pool after day one. And we're talking and we're like, we're talking about contests we did. And there was one guy across the pool, and he was really the first Canadian we got a chance to really communicate with. We're like, "So how many contests did you do last year?" And he goes, like 24, 25. And I was like, "What?" And first off, we don't have that many shows a year here in the States for pros to do at all.
No.
Stateside, if you do like 5 or 6 a year, that's like, damn, dude. Oh, yeah. No, these guys are competing up to 30 times a year when everything's running right.
Where? Like,
so they have basically the way the circuit is set up there. It's really kind of cool, but they have a pro level contest almost every weekend. Yeah,
wow.
Without COVID and everything. Yeah, no, JF is working really hard to set that up for the guys. It's really insane, and the whole country gets behind it.
Yeah,
like, it's really like that's what they have there in Canada. So
I'll have to try and get JF. I'll have to try and get JF on the channel as well sometime too. But
he's a wealth of knowledge. Like I can remember when we got to Warwick, which was where the Arnold Canada was that year. JF and Jimmy Paquette. Jimmy Paquette's kind of like at that time he was the number 2 in Canada.
Yeah.
There were some issues with him getting into the States for whatever reason. I'm not entirely sure what. But Jimmy and JF had trucks, I believe, that dealerships had given them to drive around, like as sponsorship here, like just be seen in one of our trucks. And like have their faces on the side of it. And it's just kind of like I remember getting out of our because we had like a 2-hour ride from the Montreal airport to the hotel. And I remember getting out that night and seeing that truck, and I was like, world's different up here.
Yeah. Dang. Well, that's pretty cool.
Oh yeah.
Man. Well, so how many pro contests have you done now?
Oh Jesus.
Because it's just been 3 years that you had your pro card?
I got my pro card at the 2020 Arnold.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, that was my first. So no, excuse me. I got my pro card at the 2019 Arnold Amateur, and then after that, I did a contest in Lithuania, which the States and Canada are really the only 2 countries that have pro cards. So, I would say because Avar Smelenkis, Avar's going to kill me. I can't say his last name. Ivar, excuse me. He was at that contest in Lithuania, so I believe that was a pro show. So that's 1, and then I had the Arnold Classic Canada. That was 2, and then I didn't do what was it? Would you count the official Strongman Games as a pro show? I don't know.
I can't remember if it is or not. I mean, if they're using pro weight, I guess sure.
Yeah, I think quality of athlete wise, because they're not your pro status doesn't matter to them. It doesn't.
Right.
It's an international contest, so but we'll discount the OSG purposes, and so OSG doesn't count. And then I had the Arnold Classic, and then I had Worlds, and then Mammoth. So that's five. I'm five pro shows in, unless you count OSG, and that's six.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's still pretty good though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you I haven't heard much about Worlds this year yet. Do you know when it's happening, or I keep hearing rumors and nothing seems to be confirmed.
I know that I have reason to believe it will be stateside. I don't have anything official. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody does.
Yeah, I keep hearing mixed stuff all over the place, and I haven't really heard anything solid. But
I think they're waiting to see what COVID does, quite frankly.
yeah,
So it's a lot of the big shows are, especially like the Arnold and Worlds, because there's Worlds they'll do their special invites and things like that, but they usually like to have a couple of Giants live events, and and they like to have obviously different countries coming in with competitors. So I think really right now the only transparency I'm seeing from organizations is World Ultimate Strongman as far as when certain events are going to be.
I know. Dubai is crazy. When I was in the Navy, we ended up pulling into port there in Dubai, and have you been there yet? I can't remember if you.
I have not been to Dubai yet. I've got Bahrain in February.
Oh, Bahrain's another interesting one as well. I've spent some time there as well, but Dubai is crazy because it's these it's like a massive metropolitan city. Like it feels almost like New York or something like that. But then you just go a little ways and it's like there's a wall and then there's just sand for miles. And you're like, whoa, where am I? You know? And you go like 2 or 3 miles down this highway and there's nothing. There's no trees, no shrubs or anything. And then all of a sudden there's another wall and there's another like city thing there. And you're like, what? Like, so it's cool. It's a cool layout, but
I would like to buy if they have it again this year. I'm on the roster. So, but right now the only thing I've seen is Bahrain, and then they posted they were going to do a show in Vegas in September.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, so I'll be on the roster for that one, barring any extenuating circumstances. I plan to do that contest.
Yeah.
It's home soil, so I'm definitely not going to pass that up.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, cool. That's kind of fun. I'll have to maybe I can see if I can drag the family down to Vegas for that then, because I think flights are pretty cheap from Spokane here, but
probably. Yeah.
I don't know if the wife and kids really want to go. But
yeah, well, you might have to send them to like shows and then you come while like
yeah, right. I know one of my buddies, he's a slightly different talk, but he's a professional steer wrestler. And cool. Yeah, and so I'm hoping to get him on the channel here soon as well. But he posts crazy videos of him, and I was like, to be, riding a perfectly good horse and jump off of it and tackle this 700-pound animal and crank it to a stop. I was like, you gotta, there's a couple screws that are gone up here to do that.
I grew up working on horse farms, and my half sister raced barrels. So yeah. I bumped shoulders with a couple of those guys, and they're cool dudes, but
they're a little off.
They're searching for something that I don't know what is.
Yeah. But the Super Bowl rodeo, whatever you want to call it, their big rodeo is in Vegas. I think it's like second week in December, something like that. And so I watched it this last year, watched some of the videos of that, and I was like, that's insane. You get the best in the world in there jumping and tackling steers, and like, I don't know. I'll play with rocks. I don't know if I'm gonna jump on a 700-pound animal.
Those guys are predators. Like that is You are a predator if you're willing to jump on top of something with horns that's going to run that fast. You are a predator. Like, that is.
Oh, I know. Well, and it was interesting because I started looking up, after talking to him and discovering that, that's what he does. And he makes, he makes six figures doing it. Like, he makes really good money doing this. And so then I started looking up fail videos of it. And don't do that.
You know why he makes six figures doing it?
I was like, there's a reason you're making 200 grand or whatever you make, because if you mess up by inches, you're done. Like, you, yeah.
Or if you just get that steer that's decided he's had enough.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, exactly. It's like that.
If we have people who are willing to jump off of horses onto steers, there's at least one steer out there that's sitting here thinking like, nah, dude, today,
not today.
No.
Yeah. I've done this a couple times. I know what's coming.
That's not. We have to assume there's that end of the steers, and I don't want to find that.
Yeah, nope, not interested. But oh man, well, awesome. I know it's getting late your time. I should let you go. But yeah, this has been awesome. Any final comments you want to tell people, or Instagram handle, anything like that, how they can get a hold of you?
I'm on Facebook as Bobby Thompson. I'm on Instagram as Bobby Thompson Pro Strongman. I'm more included on Instagram than I am Facebook. Facebook I don't mess around with too much, but Instagram's the best way to get a hold of me. I cameo on the Cerberus page from time to time, and that's really about it.
Okay. Do you do any coaching or anything like that? If they wanted to hit you up for something along those lines, or?
So I'm not doing coaching right now, just because I don't feel like I could. I'm so focused with my own training, with what I'm doing, that I definitely, there's no way I could give somebody justice when it comes to it. So eventually I will be coaching, yes, but for right now I'm just focused on me.
Nice. Okay. Awesome. Well, thanks for coming in. Once again, this is Isaac from Hunger Smash Fitness, and just remember to always improve that 1%.